Ranking members Scott and Sampson and members of the Housing Committee. My name is Tom O'Day. I'm the state rep for New Canaan, Darien, and Stamford. And I too am testifying on with regard to House Bill 5333. And if I may, Senator Sampson, your questions were spot on, and I can give you some specific examples. In New Canaan, we were one of the first communities to get a moratorium. We had established a building permit fee back when the bill was first passed. We were the first state, the first municipality to actually do so, and so we had started saving money to build affordable housing in New Canaan. To give you an idea, we've spent $45 million building 100 units, and there were some old World War II housing units that were dilapidated, and so we essentially knocked them down and rebuilt. And as Representative, or I'm sorry, Senator Ryan Fazio stated, it was New Canaan actually that had overdeveloped more than what they needed for their first moratorium. And the housing department, even though I believe the statute is clear, the housing department said that no, your extra housing units won't count towards your second moratorium. And that's just wrong. And in fact, under similar circumstances, Brookfield got a moratorium and New Canaan has not. So we think and I think the statute's clear. Unfortunately, that situation is currently in litigation. I think the town of New Canaan is going to win that litigation. But all we have to do is take a look at 830G L3, and it states eligible units completed after a moratorium has begun may be counted toward establishing eligibility for a subsequent moratorium. We believe it's clear that the intent of that legislation is that if you build more than you need for the moratorium, it should count towards a future moratorium. We want to encourage municipalities to build more affordable housing. And that statute, to be specifically clear, could simply be amended to say eligible units completed after a moratorium or in excess of the current moratorium may be counted toward establishing eligibility for a subsequent moratorium. But in any event, the 830G is the number 1, 2, and 3 issue in New Canaan and Darien because it can have such a dramatic adverse impact on surrounding property owners. And so what has historically happened in Darien and New Canaan in particular, and I believe in Fairfield and Westport, but maybe not to the degree, builders have proposed affordable housing and then negotiated it away so that at the end, there is no affordable housing. So they'll come in and they'll say, I build a 20-unit complex and a third will be affordable. And then they'll negotiate it down to 10 units and 0 are affordable because affordable units they don't make money on. So the predatory nature of what's going on in New Canaan, Darien, and much of Fairfield County has resulted in 0 affordable housing being built in New Canaan since the 1990s. And that affordable housing, Avalon, is rolling off of our rolls because the time is expiring. So looking at House Bill 337, requiring builders who propose affordable housing to put in a $100,000 surety bond to mandate that they do it is one possible solution to this. Another is I want affordable housing built, but I want it built. I believe it should be built with local control and local incentives. New Canaan, you're looking at $1 million an acre. So the town has invested, we've got almost 300 units now. We invested a lot of money, both millions of dollars of town money, millions of dollars with a nonprofit, and millions of dollars in land cost. And so if a builder comes in and puts in an 830G proposal, one of the bills that I had suggested would allow a town to essentially pay market rate for that property and put in a similar number of affordable units anywhere else in town within 8 years. I've gotten some bipartisan support for that concept. I took Q Williams, God bless him, God rest his soul. He spent 4 hours with me driving around New Canaan. Majority Leader Jason Rojas, he spent a couple hours with me driving around New Canaan. And Governor, I drove with the governor around New Canaan, showing him where some proposals were and where they didn't really belong. And New Canaan Parish, I'm going to send around to the chairs and ranking. New Canaan Parish is the perfect, I believe, one of the ideal solutions to our affordable housing problem in New Canaan. It's a beautiful complex, and we should incentivize towns to build those. It's 100% owned by the town, and it's 100% affordable. So without spending too much time, both Senator Fazio and I have been working on this together. Everything he said, I agree with. I think there's a lot of ways we can do this. But punishing a town for building too much affordable and not allowing that to count towards a moratorium is just wrong. And
Representative O'Day,
yes,
I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
yeah, I'm done. I happy to answer any questions. I appreciate the opportunity, and any of the chairs of housing want to come around New Canaan, I'm buying coffee or lunch, and I want to show you how we are making an effort to house our increase our housing affordable housing roles.
Nothing over $9.99.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions? Senator.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Representative, for your comments today. I know that you've been a strong advocate for revising the 830G statute. Obviously, I think that's required based on the the constituency that you have and where you represent people from the state of Connecticut. And I really appreciate you, adding some light on the whole moratorium issue and explaining kind of what the circumstances are on the ground. I've got a pretty good understanding. My girlfriend lives in Wilton, and I see the press in the area, and I kind of know the issue pretty well also. But it's good to get that in front of the people watching this hearing today. Just wanted to ask you if outside of that that one issue, which is a key issue, is there another one of the items that maybe we talked about earlier with my two Senate colleagues that stands out to you as something that really ought to be a key ingredient if we do revise the statute? Through you, Madam Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator. And you've been asking great questions. The surety bond issue, or allowing so that if a builder comes in and uses the affordable 830G statute as a threat and then doesn't put in any affordable housing, that hasn't worked. So it doesn't work in New Canaan, and it hasn't worked since the 1990s. So having a $100,000 surety bond to ensure that if they offer or proposing affordable housing, that they actually get built. I like it. I actually like my proposal that didn't get a hearing, where you allow the municipality to purchase that property from the builder. And if the affordable housing is not built within 8 years that was proposed somewhere in town, then there's a penalty provision. Call it 10% of the purchase price, and half of that goes to the builder and half of that goes to the estate's affordable housing fund to be utilized for affordable housing. That would incentivize towns with quite a good penalty, so that they would build affordable housing, so it actually gets done, as opposed to what's going on now, where literally zero affordable housing has been built in New Canaan since the 1990s, because it's just so expensive, and the builders use it as a threat, and they simply build non-affordable housing at a lower level.
Understood. Thank you very much, Representative. I know that my colleague, Representative Scott, has some questions too, but Thank you for being here. And again, like the other folks that have spoken, I will certainly include you in the conversation, and be sure to feed us whatever ever you like so that we can work together on this and hopefully come up with an excellent product at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Truly appreciate your questioning on these issues.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative O'Day, I appreciate the testimony. I did want to just dive a little bit, and I'm only going to ask this one question for you, but I really want to dive a little bit more into the moratorium issue. Obviously, there's a lawsuit pending. Let's take that out of the equation. But we have heard this from other municipalities that the moratorium issues is not just a New Canaan thing. What language, what proposals can be considered that would allow the moratorium to be either clearer, fairer, or a more of an incentive for these, municipalities, especially the ones down in Fairfield County, to then go ahead and move forward with that and qualify for that moratorium. The whole point of that moratorium is for you to qualify, right? That's the incentives to qualify so that the 830G penalty, a lawsuit is not eligible. What is there a proposal? Is there language that you've considered, you're thinking about specifically that could help with that moratorium issue?
Yes, thank you very much, Representative Scott, for that question. As I tried to point out, in 830G L3, there's it's just one line or two lines, one sentence. And I already believe that this is covered. So I don't think it's necessary. But to make it more clear to the housing department, where it says eligible units completed after moratorium has begun or in excess of the number of units necessary for the moratorium may be counted towards establishing eligibility for a subsequent moratorium. So simply putting in that extra language in that section 830G L3 would make it clear of the legislative intent, which I already think was clear and which already was granted to Brookfield. So there's nobody that would make the argument that we don't want to incentivize municipalities from building more affordable housing. So we want, when you build a development, you don't say, oh, wait, we can't build those last 4 units, even though it makes sense. Let's leave them empty. Let's not finish them. And let's finish them in 4 years when we're up for another moratorium. Nobody would argue for that. That doesn't make any sense. So let's give municipalities credit for finishing those last 4 units so they count towards the moratorium.
Great. Thank you so much for that language. I think that's something we can maybe consider here just to clarify that intent and make sure it's clarified to Department of Housing and how that's supposed to work and what the intent of that is. And if there's a word or two or a phrase that we need to add to that, I think it's fairly clear, but the fact that we're going to a lawsuit, I think maybe it isn't as clear as it should be. So maybe we can do that as part of this either study or part of anything we're doing 830G. So I appreciate that advice, that suggestion. And I thank you for the time to come and talk to us today.